What if I told you you could turn a $20 bet into $2 million overnight? But you also have the chance to lose that $20. Would you consider this gambling? I would. Myself and many others would. But in the eyes of the law, this is not always gambling. Things such as daily fantasy sports or DFS are not considered gambling and give you the chance to do this. So what is a daily fantasy sport? I'm sure everyone has seen at least one commercial for FanDuel or DraftKings while watching TV at home. They're all over the place. How can you miss them? These are the companies trying to find a way to cheat the system in a way, if you would, to allow legalized gambling in states where it is not allowed. And they do this through daily fantasy sports. Daily fantasy sports are websites in which you essentially bet money and pick your own professional sports team. You pick athletes from various teams in a sport and from different teams to create your own squad basically, and you have them compete against each other in various types of games. You can do head-to-head matches, you can do winner-take-all tournaments, you can do highest percentile tournaments, and so you pick these real life players and put them on your fantasy team, and you bet money on how they will perform, or actually how they will perform in real life. These websites are valued at over $1 billion, but you only win if your players do statistically well in real life. So then you get points for it, and so you have to just pick the best players. So it's not considered gambling yet. A lot of states are trying to do it. States such as New York has just recently passed a law that does not allow its citizens to compete in daily fantasy sports. Gambling is illegal in New York. Under federal law, daily fantasy sports is allowed. There's some certain laws in effect trying to get passed by some congressmen, such as the congressman from New Jersey. He's trying to get a law to make it illegal there. But states such as New York do not allow it yet, and DraftKings and FanDuel are currently trying to fight them in a legal battle to allow citizens in New York to play daily fantasy games such as FanDuel and DraftKings. But other states have made an age requirement saying you have to be 18 or older. But why would you need to be 18 or older to just pick some football players and pick which ones you believe would do well? It's because they know there's an underlying issue that it should be gambling, but it's not considered yet. But I strongly believe it should be. According to the New York Times, when most gambling laws were created, most fantasy sports were the season-long, low-stake games played between friends and family. But nowadays, you always see the commercials. You lose in your tournament with your league with all your buddies. Well, you can just do it 1 week. That's how you can turn $20 into $2 million in just 1 week. If you just pick the right guys and do a really high-stake league, it's possible. But now, you used to not be able to do these fantasy sports because it took so long. It wasn't no one really thought of the gambling aspect behind it. Now it's starting to prevail itself in the years that fantasy is starting to get popular. Because fantasy sports, each week is a new team. You can do awful 1 week, lose your $10, but then you can come back the next week, bet another $10 and win money. Is that not considered gambling? It's up to you to decide. So all these states that allow it, the way that they're trying to get past it is saying it's not a game of chance. Gambling has to be considered a game of chance. But fantasy, there's people over at the daily fantasy sports, FanDuel and DraftKings, they're trying to say it's not a game of chance, it's a game of skill. If it's a game of skill, you're allowed to do this. But so they're trying to do it. Their cash prizes are they're comparing it to the same if you won a golf tournament. You bet some money to enter a golf tournament and you won, or a beauty pageant or a game show. That's the type of cash payouts they're believing that you get. That's what they're trying to tell the law. But in my opinion and many others, I do not believe this is correct. It's betting, you bet money, and depending on odds, you can't predict how a player is going to do during the game. So why should daily fantasy sports be considered gambling? So according to Professor Tim Fong, who is the co-director of the gambling study at UCLA, gambling is defined as placing something of value to be won or lost on an event of certain outcome in the hopes of winning something greater. This is what daily fantasy sports are. You bet money to win money, but you also have the chance to lose all that money. Is that not gambling? So according to the New York Times, giving people more ways to bet on the outcome of sports is sure to threaten the integrity of sports and create more gambling addicts, especially among the young people who are already more likely to engage in risky behavior. So I'm sure everyone has heard of gambling problems here. It's a real serious issue. It's actually now a psychological disorder that they've labeled as gambling disorder. It's basically you can lose all your money by having an addictive personality. You can go. What's the difference between going to the blackjack table at the casino and just keep betting money in the hopes of winning, but you could slowly lose it all, and you could do this without your friends and your family knowing. This is the same as daily fantasy sports. Each week you can just pick a new team. You can put more money down, and if your players don't perform how you hope they do, you can slowly drain out your money and lose it all. The only way people really win in daily fantasy sports is you pick, it's called the sleeper pick. I'm sure you've heard about that on the commercials. It's picking the people that no one else thinks are going to do well that week, and they just go off. So people are allowed to create multiple entries so they can just fill out all the players that they don't think will be good. And it's an easy way to drop a lot of money. And if none of those players that usually don't do that good don't do good, you're probably going to lose, and then lose all your money. So daily fantasy sports can be as dangerous as other forms of gambling. They can incite addiction in those who play it. There's a sense of excitement because you can place down money with hopes of winning big, but this does not always mean you're going to win. It's a real trap out there. It is estimated that these daily fantasy sports take a large profit from those who bet their skill bets, because their bets a skill and not bets a chance. And experts are saying that daily fantasy sports this year are expected to generate $2.6 billion in interest fee